Okay, hi guys. Sorry things did not work in class, so I will go ahead and try to record what I was going to show you in class in this video. You guys can follow along, hopefully, if everything works. And then you guys can complete the assignment that was supposed to be in class and upload your responses on Moodle. So you guys should be seeing what I'm seeing, and so this is the screen that you see when you log in to RStudio Cloud. It will probably put you into your workspace, which probably doesn't have anything created unless you've created something. To see the classes workspace, if you click this menu bar in the top left and then select Sci 230, that will open up our classes workspace. So currently I have this in-class version because I started the assignment earlier. I'm going to delete that, which will take a few minutes as usual. And so this should be what you guys see when you log in. It should have the correlations and regressions in class, and it should say start because you haven't started it yet. If you have already started it, you'll have a version like I did, and you can just click on that one to open up the version that you created earlier. And it takes forever for it to pull up the thing. Okay, I'm back. So once it finishes loading, it should spit up a screen that looks like this. If it gives you an error message, just try again later if you can. If you get error message more than twice, just send me an email, say it didn't work for you, and that will be fine. So once you get into the workspace, you will see this file pane over here in the right corner. If you click the script.r, this will open the actual code. So I mentioned in class that the green lines are comments, so even if you try to run these, nothing will happen. So you can click the run button, or you can click Control-Enter, and so it just runs through those two lines, nothing happens, and then it runs the next line that is actual code. And so in that case, it's loading the reshape library. You don't have to worry about the libraries, just make sure you load them in. On a PC, you can hit Control-Enter, and that will run whatever line of code your cursor is on. I think on a Mac, if you hover over, it will show you what command you hit on a Mac. If it doesn't, let me know and I will do some Googling to find out what command you guys use on your fancy Apple computers. But on PC, it's just Control-Enter. So let's go ahead and do that line. So this will actually load in the data frame. If you click over here, you can pull it up and you can see the actual data. This is just the numerical data from the social support data set that I think I showed you guys previously. X is the participant number or the row number, and then these are all of the values for each participant. There is some missing data. You can close out of that. To see what loaded in, if you don't want to click over here and pull it up, you can always use the head command. So head and then in parentheses your data frame name, and that will show you the first 6 lines. So those are identical to the first 6 lines that you see here. It's just the same thing. You can also select names, and that will spit out a list of all of the column names or the names of all of the variables. So what we're going to do right away is create a correlation matrix. So an interesting thing about the correlation matrix command that we're using here, if there are any missing values, it will have a conniption and not work. So the first thing we have to do is ma.omit, and that is this command, and this will actually drop any participants who have missing data. So this is the part that tells it to drop the participants with missing data, and this is where it's going to put it. So it's going to create a new data frame called df2 with the participants dropped if they have missing data. So over here, df, the first one, had 95 observations or 95 participants. df2 only has 90, so 5 participants had missing data, and so they were dropped. Once you've done that, hit Control-Enter, and that will create the correlation matrix. You can click it here and pull it up in a window. It's a little bit easier to see this way. Or you can hit Control-Enter with cores just in the line, and it will spit it out down here in the console window. As you can see in the console window, it's actually really hard to keep track of what's going on because it has to put it onto multiple lines. So if you find your line of ones, that's your diagonal. Remember, it's the same above and below the diagonal. So you can use this version if that's easier for you, but personally, I always prefer this version. So what I was going to ask you guys in class was, what is the correlation between the emotional satisfaction variable and the tangible satisfaction variable? So emotional satisfaction, or emotional SAT, is emotional support satisfaction. So participants rated how satisfied they were with their emotional support availability. Tangible satisfaction is tangible support satisfaction, and participants rated how satisfied they were with their tangible support, tangible social support. So to find the correlation between these two variables, we start out with emotional SAT, and then we keep going over till we hit the tangible SAT, and then that gives us our correlation. So the R value for the relationship between those two values is between those two variables, is 0.47. This version of the correlation matrix does not give us the p-value, and so in order to calculate the p-value, you'll need this next line of code. So let's go through this a little bit slowly so that you guys can see what's happening here. Core test is just the command, so it's telling it to do the correlation test. df emotional SAT and df2 tangible SAT, this is telling it what variables to actually run the test between. So since we're looking for the p-value for the correlation between emotional satisfaction and tangible satisfaction, those are the commands that we want to use, and then we just hit Control Enter or whatever, and it will spit out the results of the correlation test down here in our command console. It gives us lots of information here, only some of which we're going to focus on. Down here is the correlation itself, the R value. As you can see, it's the same thing that it was in the correlation matrix. And over here is our p-value, and that's 2.95 in scientific notation, so it's some really, really small number. Part of what you'll need to do for your assignment is report the correlation in APA format. Just a reminder, if you guys don't quite recall, we did talk about APA format in class. It is on slide 3 of the Correlations and Regressions presentation. It's down at the very bottom, and that is the APA format for reporting a correlation. So you'll need to use that when you're completing the assignment. You'll need to use these commands in order to create the R value and to get the P value. If you don't want to look at the correlation matrix, if it's really confusing or overwhelming, you can just use the core test to get the correlation value between two variables. But I do always recommend using a correlation matrix when you can, because as we mentioned, you need to see things in context. So that's how you run commands, Control Enter or Command Enter or whatever you Mac people have to select. Just run through that code. You might need to change these because you'll need to pick your own variables when you're doing the assignment. So you can always go back up here and hit Control Enter, and it will give you this list of names. And then you can change this to change these to any variables you want. So I could change this to affect and BDI, which is the Beck Depression Inventory, and run the correlation, and it will give me all of the information that I need to report it in APA format. I'm just going to undo that real quick. So that's how to run your correlation. The next thing that you'll need to do for the assignment is create a scatter plot of your chosen variables. So in this case, I'm going to do the emotional satisfaction and tangible satisfaction. So you'll need to change the names here. As you can see, it doesn't need the omitted data. It's okay with NAs, so it's just referring to the original data frame with the 95 observations. You don't have to do the DF2 $sign because it's already been told to look in this data frame. So all you do is change the names here to the variables that you're interested in, and then you can hit Control Enter, and it will spit out your plot over here in your plots window. For your version, make sure that you go in and provide all of the correct names for your axes and the title. So your title will probably be something like correlation between blah and blah, with blah being your variables. Make sure you put the right ones on the x-axis and the y-axis. The variable that's listed first here will be your x. This one will be your y. So make sure you update that first and second variable so your plot is correct. And then you'll need to copy it so that you can put it into your Google Doc. The best way to do this is to click where it says Export and then copy the clipboard. That will show you this. You can make it bigger if you want. You can go up to 900, tell it to maintain aspect ratio. It's not gonna, is it? let's see. Nope, we'll say update preview. So that's what happens if you don't maintain the aspect ratio. We can put that to 500, update preview. You don't have to make it bigger. You can if you want. Once it's whatever size you want it to be, everything looks correct. You've got your title, your labels. Make sure you've got the right display that you expect to see given your correlation values. Just hit right click and then copy image, and then you'll paste it into your document as usual. If you're on a Mac, do however you copy paste things. You guys know that better than I do. Once you're done with that, just hit close, and then you can move on to the next part of the assignment, which will be creating a correlation plot. And so the directions on that one, I will not go through step by step. Just a couple headers or just a couple points. Make sure you don't change anything in this section. So this will all be the way things need to be. You won't have to change anything here as well. So you'll just basically be running this and then copy pasting the plot into the Google Doc. And that will actually be everything for the assignment. All of the questions are written in the Google Doc that's linked. This is what it should look like. If you guys go to the link that's provided on Moodle, or you can go to tinyurl.com/psy230-in-class, and that will take you directly to this. When you're pasting, you should be able to just Control Enter, tab over, and then Control V. And it looks like it's got something else in my clipboard rather than the actual thing, so I'm not going to paste that, but it should work for you guys. As always, if it doesn't work, just let me know and I will figure out what's going on. That should be everything. I think I covered everything. Sorry this did not work in class. I will figure out what happened and figure out how to handle it next time. You have until our next class to complete this in class-ish assignment, and it will be just for a couple points, grades, so nothing major. If it doesn't work for you, send me an email or just make notes in your assignment and go ahead and submit it, and we'll figure out what's going on with it then. And other than that, I will see you guys in our next class with hopefully more cooperative technology. Bye.